Oh yeah, the there's not enough action in this first episode.
They just have him hit a person.
It's true. Our Truth knocks CM Punk off the top of the WWE merch chart.
Amazing. I'm so happy for him. It's because of this whole Judgment Day thing.
Judgment Day. Our Truth
was never not funny.
Come on, CM
Just
Punk,
sitting in the
start a
background
fight with
of the
our
head.
truth. Do it, you coward.
Knocks him in the back of the head. Getting on a bus.
And anyway, we are live, and welcome everyone to Animesplaining, your source for not very good shonen anime, at least for this episode and the next episode when it gets
I like this one.
real bad.
This is the good one, okay?
This
is the bee's knees. This is where it's at.
This was, I will give you, they give more depth to the secondary characters. It's just, I despise the secondary characters. I don't want more Inosuke, and I don't want more Zenitsu, and that's what I got.
But they're way better than Tanjiro. I feel like Tanjiro, you could take him out and just make the show about those two, and we'd have a way better show. We don't need Tanjiro in this group. We don't need him at all. It turns out
Tanjiro is like the everyman, though. He's just like the bland hero. Like you can insert yourself into him,
Jim.
Like because he's got such like his choices are very black and white. Like it's either this or it's either that. So it's easy to put yourself in his position. Whereas,
not for me.
Zenitsu is a coward until he falls asleep, and Inosuke is just like bloodthirsty. Like,
they're way easier to relate to than Tanjiro. Tanjiro has no personality, and Zenitsu is just my boy. I will protect him at all costs.
I do appreciate the way that Inosuke does get weirder every single season. I mean, in this season, he is able to dislocate his entire body and fit anywhere where his head can fit, like he is a cat.
Stupid.
Yeah. And we just go with it. Like, you have to. You don't have a choice.
That point in the show where he gets stabbed through the heart, like, oh my god, like,
I know they're really gonna kill him off
with this show. Like, we might really go somewhere with this drama-wise. No, I can shift my internal organs.
Psych.
My heart's over here. All of a sudden, I can put it in my butt. No.
So that's a decent preamble to we watched the Entertainment District arc for Demon Slayer.
Okay, and this is another problem. Don't call it the Entertainment District. That is misleading. That made me believe like, oh, they're going to Hollywood. Like they're going to make movies? Cool. No, it's the Red Light District. They go to Japan, the Red Light District. That's where they are. And you can tell me, oh, geishas generally are... No, these were prostitutes and they're Johns. That's what the like. Not
so shocked.
Like the one guy who wants to go out and protect.
Hey, wait a minute! This isn't Disney World at all. I brought my shirts and my sandals. I was ready to have cotton candy. These are just women. You jerk.
Joey just wandering into this arc like Homer into a lesbian bar. Wait, this lesbian bar doesn't have working fire exits. Enjoy your death trap, ladies.
That is how I felt. I'm like, why are they in just a bunch of random houses? Like, what is this? I don't.
It's about sex entertainment. There's sex
for the cameras. Which is probably even makes it even worse asking that question. But
I mean, I assume this guy. Tengen is just a pimp at this point. Like, it's just occupation. He's way too bejeweled. He has way too much swag.
He's both okay. I know that you both don't love Mugen. Like, I actually like the Mugen Train more than you both. How can you admit that Tengen is better than Rengoku?
I never said that Tengen is better than Rengoku.
I'll say it right now. He's cooler. He has more style. He has more flair. He has more flash. He has 3 hot wives.
Child wives.
And unlike Rengoku, he married an 11-year-old.
right, I'll subtract a point for that, so 9 out of 10. But there's he's like 90% okay, except for marrying. He's like David Bowie, except for marrying a kid. He's all right. He's
He married 3 children.
like 3 David Bowie.
His wives in
And
the
he's a
thing are
coward.
21, 20, and 19. And he said that they've been
And
married
he's-
to them for 8 years.
Yeah, but he has 2 katanas that are nunchucks, and I feel like it balances out.
He's a coward. Oh, I'm just going to sit here and retire. I've
Yeah.
decided I'm done demon slaying.
He did
Like,
have
I
his
know-
arm chopped off.
You get
Take
that
an
energy.
oath, you
Yep.
coward.
They do
No.
not have robot
Fight to
hands
the
in
death.
this.
This isn't Star Wars. They're not ripping off Star Wars in this one, not yet.
So
He has the coolest.
returning to the intro, we watched the Entertainment District arc of Demon Slayer. We are watching the Swordsmith Village arc after this, and oh god, if you think, Joey, if you think this is bad, we are only getting worse. But at least we are very in different places on this. I guess I'm the moderate. I think both sides have some arguments. But yeah, Marlon, you came out positive on this. Joey, you came out negative.
Yeah.
I imagine that if we ranked the arcs as they stand, you would put this in the worst. And I'm in the middle. I do put it slightly above Mugen Train, though.
I'm putting it above both. Period. I see where we've talked about it before. I see why you'd say the first one is better than this one, and that's all because the Spider Family and all that. But it's also bookended by these shitty arcs. You have like the drum dude, and then you have like the Hashira thing. Like I feel like that brings it down enough. On this one, you have maybe 2-3 more episodes, and then Lady kicks in, and it's just nonstop action for episodes. And I feel like she's the main villain, and she brings out another one, and he's even stronger than her. It's full nonstop amazingness. How do you even compare it to the other ones? They're so slow by comparison. Even Mugen Train is just like, I don't know, here's some goop. Fight some goop for a second. We don't know what to do with this
They
guy.
don't even start fighting until episode 5. And on top of that, they cut her head off like 30 times. Like
Yes.
the one part that is, I will say, is where Inosuke uses his swords to actually saw her head off.
That was awesome.
I thought that was cool.
I think I just enjoy a good unkillable villain. Like there are many moments where they should have stayed down, but I feel like we used the term before, false finishes. This one had so many false finishes, and they were
This
so
was not false finishes. This is like you're playing in 2nd grade on the playground, and you're like playing whatever imaginary, like, I mean, I'm showing my age, but like Power Rangers. Oh, I just zapped you with my laser or whatever. And you're like, well, actually, I've put up my force field, so it blocked your laser. Like you're making up shit on the go to try to like overcome bad story.
I don't feel like it was making up shit on the go as much as it was, here's someone they may not be stronger than you, but you can't kill them easily enough. And even then, even when you do finally get them, here's the second layer, and now you have 2 of these guys. I feel like it's awesome. I feel like it's watching the end of Alien, where you think like, hey, we got the aliens. Now here's the queen. Hey, we got the queen. But the queen is like hanging on to this thing. It's doing the whole James Cameron thing that I'm digging. You got like 3-4 different endings. It's never over.
It felt more like Predator. But
Yes, like Predator.
Those lines come up.
Yeah, I'm a
Get
fan
out.
of that kind of ending. Like, yes.
Get out, Kyotaro's gonna explode into knives.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to spoil the last episode before we get into it, but there's a moment that's exactly like that. Like while Tanjiro's waking up, having in slow motion, like he's still alive. He's still alive. Like, oh shit! And that's when it went from like a 7 to a 10.
No, because I hated the animation, but we'll get into it. Yeah, like
Yeah, so the basics of the story of the Entertainment District arc is Tanjiro, newly off of Anime Superman dying with Rengoku, goes and
John Cena die.
Yeah, goes to the Rengoku house, and it like breaks the news to his father, who already knew it because they get ravens everywhere. But he has a conversation with his father in a thing that could have actually done something, but is actually quite boring. And his father drops the first stupidity of this arc, and of this show's main plot in general, and that is the Sun Breathers. That Tanjiro and Nezuko are descendants of the Sun Breathers, which is the first and most powerful version of breathing. And no one can breathe like them. That's why they're
really can breathe.
They're destined.
Yeah,
they're destined.
They're the specials. Everyone likes a special.
Not me. I'm a Zenitsu guy.
And this whole time, Rengoku's dad is still like, "Oh, by the way, I'm still a douchebag. I can redeem myself now that my son died, doing something I still believed in. But by the way, I'm still an alcoholic who's still mourning the death of their mother from years before, and I take it out on my children, and I'm still not going to change that."
Just take it out into what?
I go, yeah, and I just got the one.
See,
that is all for you.
They had an opportunity here to have Tanjiro in his worst possible moment talk to someone who is just constantly living out a worst possible moment, and have Tanjiro, like, turn it around, like, think that, oh, self-sacrifice, like, might be worth it, because think of all the good that Rengoku did, and...
Well, not just that, but, like, even rescue the little brother.
Rescue him. Like, you can't just take him. He's not a cat. Like, he's
I mean, isn't he into to, like, following these Demon Slayer footsteps? No, I don't want to get him eaten. Like, don't have him follow if he's just eaten by some blob in, like, the dream world, the dream training world that they have, but...
No, he sold me on him. Do that.
The brother is like, I'm not strong enough to be a demon slayer because the sword doesn't change colors and stuff like that. So it's something where they establish that's like, no, the brother is good at books. That's his superpower. Everyone has a talent. Your talent is not fighting demons.
You're right, because books wouldn't teach you how to build a bomb and blow up a demon, but whatever.
You can't blow up a demon with a bomb unless it had wisteria knives in it, which only works some of the time, but we'll get...
all these rules.
I like this rabbit hole we can go into about rules about how to kill a demon.
And bringing in more interesting characters than Tanjiro, which is literally every other character on this show, including Booksmart over here.
Oh my!
Everyone's more. He's so dull. He's a Cyclops-ass character. He's so boring.
He's just a perv, and Inosuke is just a weirdo with a pig head on his head.
But they have personalities. Tanjiro is so dull. He's just Leonardoing it. At least this one's a perv, and he gets scared, and he gets sleepy, and he gets determined. Tanjiro is just this one steady mood the entire. Maybe he'll get like upset or determined. Determined is not a mood. Determined is not a mood. It's just what he is. He's just Gokuing it. He's the boring lead. Naruto's better. Naruto makes a better lead.
I kind of
like
agree.
Naruto the show. I know Naruto the show, but I've never seen it.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to actually check that out.
It is much longer. We are probably not going to do Naruto here because we might as well just do One Piece if we're doing that.
Yeah.
It's like...
I guess my frustration is trying to compare him to other shonen like Goku, and there is comparison. Those characters still have personalities. Goku's dumb, but he like loves his kid and he likes food. There's nothing going on for Tanjiro here. He loves his sister. That's his personality. That's all I know about him.
I disagree a little bit there because he did have legitimate emotion at the end of Mugen Train where he's like, hey, every time I feel like I train to beat a wall, just another wall is in front of me. Him depressed is probably some of the best stuff that the show has. But yeah, it very much goes back to determined because this is shown in anime and this is about overcoming obstacles. And
doesn't Tanjiro also have a love interest from season 1 that we've coincidentally never seen again?
No, we've seen her again.
Interesting. No one gives a shit.
It's Two-Face. He loves Two-Face. It's the lady with the coin.
Oh, that's right. But isn't that's season 1, right? I don't even think that's Mugen Train.
No, she shows up in this too. Like she's the one who
do
I want to stop Tengen from kidnapping children and selling them into sex slavery?
Flip a coin over it.
I probably
the heads have it.
I don't remember.
Sorry.
But thank God.
But yeah, when they're training, Tengen is like, "Oh, I need to take these 3 girls because I need them to find my wives," and that's when Tanjiro and the boys go like, "No, you can just dress us up as girls, and we'll take on this challenge."
Unnecessary.
And then the show is stupid for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And then Tengen hates them. Still, he doesn't like Tanjiro, at least in the beginning. I don't think he likes any of them. And then he comes around later when he discovers that they can fight. But
I only love my busty wives.
I think you guys saying it like this, I think I understand now why I came on the show is that an Agents of Shield thing, by negging me and setting my expectations abysmally low. I've been totally prepared thinking this is gonna be the worst season ever, and I fell asleep during the first 3 episodes, thinking, all right, this is maybe worse than Mugen Train. And then the fighting starts. So I feel like this season has essentially its Winter Soldier moment, where the moment that happens, everything kicks off and becomes a better show. But this goofy shit, yeah, I agree with you guys. Yeah, there's no reason to have like girls and doing this silly comedy stuff that's not funny to anyone. And I complained about it watching it too. Tony can attest.
Yeah, I think the problem with at least the first half of this arc's general way of going about things is there are different things that it sets up that it just goes nowhere with. It's like, okay, Tengen has 3 wives. Like, if you watch to the end of the trailer stuff, or end of the, like, end credit stuff, like, there's a part where it goes like, oh, Tengen is actually based on this ninja clan that also was polygamous and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. But you still need to make these 3 wives characters. Ninja? You need to actually make it so we can see why, like, not only Tengen would, like, take on these 3 wives, but also that, like, he has something to offer them other than he's just pretty. Like, it's something where they legitimately could have said something and didn't. It's just, here are Tengen's busty wives who all have hair. They have the exact same personalities as Tanjiro and the boys. You have your basic one, you have your angry one, and you have your, like, cowardly one.
I didn't even get that. To me, they were all the same. They blended, but...
Does that make Joey Inosuke?
What?
Joey Inosuke?
Oh.
Like, look at the 3 of us, and you're saying this stuff out loud, like, hey, wait a minute.
Just
Tony Tanjiro.
Angry and bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
But again, like, it justifies, because one person does call out Tengen, and it's Zenitsu in that really stupid scene where, again, like, the animation just goes into that stupid looking, like, it looks like South Park, Terrence and Phillip, when they draw anything to the end. That's what it looks like in this, and I hate that animation with, like, what? You have to, how could they ever like someone like you? Ah! Yeah! And then gets into Zenitsu being the most annoying character in all of entertainment.
All of entertainment?
All of it. I would...
Shit, I'm isolating out right now.
give me Skylar White from Breaking Bad 100 times over this character.
Well, I'll give you that, but Skylar's kind of justified. Use another example.
As someone who has watched quite a bit of anime in my time, I can tell you that no, Joey, Zenitsu is not the most annoying.
I'm pretty sure there's more annoying people. I blacked them out from my memory because they're annoying.
Zenitsu is not even the most annoying in this show. He's
yes. Oh, he is by far.
Inosuke is more annoying.
Who would you call? I mean, who would you call more annoying?
Okay. Easily. Just his voice alone does.
Inosuke is funnier than Zenitsu.
Yeah, it's funny because he's annoying.
Because
irritating doesn't fit on the show.
Like, Zenitsu doesn't take himself seriously.
Yeah,
and it makes it part of the joke, but then of course when he falls asleep, then he is dumb.
He's good at his dream. He could do this in his sleep.
And the more annoying character is easily the train demon. I do not like the train demon.
I think that I would put the train demon ahead of Zenitsu. At least the train demon can like make people sleep and like dream good dreams while they suddenly like try to rip their consciousness away. And on top of that, the train demon then uses actual human pawns because they can't dream.
That's a job, not a personality.
And-
It's just abilities.
And Zenitsu goes to sleep and then has his like cool moment once every 2 seasons. So you take your
Right.
good and bad.
Shtick.
Like, he didn't have a cool moment because
There's
he has a
Krillin in
snot
it.
bubble in his nose while he's like sleepwalking.
But he
That
was
made it funny. You can't forget that he's funny. No
That's
matter how
not
serious he gets,
funny.
you gotta add like a little funny finger, like a snot bubble. Like you remember, it's a comedic relief. Is that what we remember?
Like Zenitsu is the equivalent, like the comic equivalent of a comedian like Jimmy Fallon. Just laughs at his own jokes the whole time. Whereas Inosuke is like the straight-faced like guy that's like probably thinks he's not even telling jokes, but because he takes himself so seriously, is actually funny.
Right. Inosuke is George Carlin, and Zenitsu is Jimmy Fallon. That's the comparison we're making.
I would
George
call
Carlin and
Inosuke
Jimmy
more
Fallon
Lewis
hanging out
Black.
together.
I would
Lewis
say
Black.
more Lewis Black is more
Holy shit, that is a good comparison.
because he's just
He is very
angry all the
Black.
time.
Lewis Black voicing Inosuke.
So Joey or Marwin, is there anything that you want me to talk about in the for the first half of this arc? I went over the general conceit. Tengen's wives were kidnapped. A demon is around. And that's pretty much all the story that we get for literally 4 episodes. Other than Muzan Kibutsuji now is a child and just totally star screams Akaza.
I just like the oh yeah, he does, doesn't he? He but I just like the like he's a fantastic child. We got so lucky who we adopted, but he has this disease where he can't go outside in the sun. Like that's kind of strange. Okay.
Totally
Just, like, sit there at night
totally
and just
normal.
We adopted a vampire.
We started a Facebook group.
Yeah, look at how great parents we are as we leave our demon child to do his evil bidding.
Why are all these doors broken? Oh, sorry, my minion showed up and I talked about how killing one Hashira was not an accomplishment. And yet spoiler alert, he is the only upper rank demon to kill a Hashira so far in 2 arcs.
This is jealous.
But then again, Gyotaro has backup, Tengen has backup. He has all the backup.
Yeah. That's why okay, no spoilers.
I mean, otherwise
Why
you
it's so
can say,
successful?
like episode 1 through 4, like we're saying, it drags.
Oh, it's awful. Like,
I will admit there's no point. I'm watching them again right now, just trying to. There's nothing to talk about here. It's just all comic relief.
remember when Tanjiro cleans the place?
Or just sad with no redemption, like Goku's dad, like we just talked about. Like,
yeah,
there's like no redeeming quality. Like, oh, I'm gonna teach him fire breathing, but that doesn't redeem you from being a dick. Like, and how you've been a dick, how you abuse your own child, your own children, if that, but now one's gone, so now your own child, and you treat everybody else around that's trying to help your family treat them crap. Like, no.
So now, speaking of child abuse, it's time to talk about Daki, who is the first villain to show up, and she's just a big ol' CM Punk of these whorehouses.
No.
Just, I am better. She starts fist fights.
Best in the world.
She is a madam who cannot be. She runs her madam to the most efficient means possible.
Yeah, you know You know that time where she drops the one madam from on high and no one in the entertainment district looks up, and then it just cuts to her sitting behind a table with a bunch of muffins? Yeah, that's Docky. I remember this part. Why does no one else remember this part? I operate this house with children who couldn't run an Applebee's.
Right, Docky's already a great threat, and she's already a bitch, and I'm already waiting for her downfall, and then things get even worse. She's awesome. She was awful as a character before she revealed her powers, and then she's stronger than everybody else to boot.
Yeah, that she just
has. She's just a madam, and what makes it worse is because when they start fighting, Tanjiro's like, "Well, I have to protect all these people," and then the one guy was like, "Hey, get out of our neighborhood, get out of our house. Are you causing trouble?" I'm like, "You're there for hookers, guy." Like, he's sitting there going and complaining that there's random acts of violence in your street.
This is a good point. Look at it that way. He was already annoying before, but now that you pointed out, like, all right, he's here. He doesn't live here. He's here for hookers.
And then he gets his arm chopped off.
This man's like, this guy's trying to go to sleep with his kids. He gotta wake up for school in the morning. It's like, oh wait, no, this is hooker central. This is that's not happening.
He gets his arm chopped off, and other people just get like diced up by the scarves. Like,
yeah,
Taki just like kills like 1/10 of the fucking entertainment district just on a whim.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I don't think there was anybody left after this little season, but we'll.
They destroy the entire thing. They scream and the entire place explodes. Is the ending of this?
That actually,
there are real stakes in this one.
That does make the ending happier when you consider Daki's and Gyotiro's upbringing. It kind of does make it kind of a weird happy, but yeah, again, we'll talk about that later after about how.
Yeah, the conceit of at least Daki as a villain, I think like they give her enough personality that I appreciate like the characterization, because like the train guy and kind of Akaza, because so far all we've learned from Akaza is that he just likes to fight, is that like Daki is just someone who grew up incredibly lower class, is now in a position where she is the one who brings in the wealth, and she has a big head about it. That is her entire character, and it's
and she eats people.
Yeah, it's I got mine. Fuck you. And granted, she's annoying. She gets her head chopped off because, well,
multiple times.
While Tanjiro is fighting her and not quite getting to the power level that he needs to be, he's about to die, and Nezuko pops out of the box, grows about 3 feet taller, and grows boobs, and gives her the stomps. Just puts the boots to her.
She gets violent through discovering the power of sexy. That's basically what she does. She's like, oh, suddenly I've discovered the demon art of being sexy, and so I'm going to stomp a mud hole, and then I see a random person bleeding and then have to be held back for the entire rest of the season.
Right, because she's still a bloodthirsty demon.
Until I come back in the end and turn into a child, which again makes this scene even more disturbing, considering they go back and all of a sudden she like shrinks up when she's around Tengen and his wives again, like, oh, 10-year-old child.
I do not like,
you just watched
like
her,
Nezuko when she turns into baby mode. That
yeah.
Her in baby mode always disturbs me. Like,
it's like seeing a grown woman suck her thumb. It's like one of those things. It's like, I just saw you with tits, and now you're like, oh, I'm a tiny baby. Mm-hmm. Like, don't remind me that you're a 5-year-old when you're a grown woman's body. Don't do that. It is what this show goes back and forth doing.
It's a problem that this show has in general, because there are times where it's like that we want to like have Nezuko be this like bastion of innocence, and at other times we want to show it as like this beautiful damsel in distress with her hair blowing in the wind, and other times where we want to just show her kicking ass. It's like,
Yeah.
She is all three things
I
all
don't
the
know if you
time.
can restrict that to just this show,
They
though.
have like Nazco.
We just during this show have watched multiple things that have this similar issue, and I still feel like this is something that is just anime as a whole. Is a stereotypical
Yeah.
anime thing.
That's it. That's the formula.
I-
They
I-
just gotta
One of
copy
my-
and paste
my-
characters.
I do
My
give the show
qualms about
credit.
anime from the beginning, but
I give the show credit that your standard pervy character with Zenitsu, he makes no lewd comments towards Daki or towards Nezuko.
Because
So
he's asleep.
and I mean I will give you that if as long as you're establishing that if Nezuko is still 16, if you're establishing because Zenitsu we imagine is pretty young, he acts that way. So
Zenitsu
I
is
will
16
give- about the
and
Yeah.
Zenitsu's
So, I mean-
16, Nezuko is 14, and Tanjiro I think is 17 in the canon of the
14
show.
still makes it a little weird, but I mean, at least again, he like it feels like there's the one Transformer movie where the love interest is 17, but her boyfriend is older, but they have to like
All
because
right.
it's Michael Bay. He goes into like making sure that they describe in the dialogue. No, it's the Romeo and Juliet laws. As long as we were dating when I was underage, it's still okay. It's like, ew. Thank you, Michael,
Yeah.
clarifying statutory rape laws for
Like,
us.
this is how grooming works. Just gonna tell you. And there's nothing wrong. It's illegal. I think to get through the show, we need to stop thinking about their ages so much because that's gonna make it worse. They're clearly being sexualized for teenagers and for kids to watch it. We're gonna be attracted to the same thing that these kids are attracted to. But we're
There's
not the
a-
I
target
don't know
audience.
if they're just being sexualized for just teenagers, though, Marlon, and that's
Yeah.
another issue I
The thing is,
have.
we're not the audience. We haven't been watching it, so we're grossed out. But this is for a sixth grader who's just figuring out sex.
There,
They
there is a
don't know
there is
why
a
they
very
like
clear
it, but they
reason
like
why we
it.
are not
People our
watching
age
My
that
Hero
aren't grossed
Academia.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there are plenty of people I guarantee you our age watching this that are not grossed out by this.
It's only because you don't think if you don't think about the ages, that's the only way to get past it. You think about the fact
Yeah.
that 14 and shit, yeah, it starts getting real grody. But then I also realized this is something that seventh grade me would eat up
Like-
and draw everywhere. Like, I have boobs.
Like, do we need like that much backstory? Like Tony, you were saying, like because they made sure to note that like Tengen has been married to his wives for 8 years. Would it be that hard? Like even with the way they're drawn, to like just say they're okay, they're
They're adults.
like
That's all they have
they're
to do.
older, or just don't even say their age. Who cares? Like they've
Yeah.
been married since, but no, you had to go into detail. Oh, they're still 19 and 20 and 21.
Okay, hold on.
Isn't he
Did they
just so
actually
lucky?
say that in the show? Did I miss that detail? Did they actually mention the ages in the show?
No, that so in the manga and like supplementary materials, they make sure to say like, no, these are their ages. Like that is also the supplementary material where it's like, oh yeah, this character is also bisexual. It's like, cool, okay, we know that now.
I feel like that's why they don't mention it in the show because it's better and safer to
I would
assume
agree.
that those four are just adults.
Yeah.
Because assuming they're kids, you start doing the math, it gets rough. So I assume all these women are in their late 20s, and it's this guy as well.
Yeah, just
That's the
just
best
do
I could
American
do.
anime math. Just age everyone 5 years, and you're good.
Yeah, it makes way more sense that way.
Please don't tell me that's a general rule. When
No,
watching anime, you should just age people.
no, I just
when they're
made that
5
up.
years.
Okay.
Fair.
Wasn't that the rule for Dragon Ball Z though? I feel like a lot of shonen anime that is the rule. Unless they deliberately take place in high school, you have to age them up. It gets gross. It gets real gross real quick.
Yeah, and
But this is still your third season, huh, Marlon?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the first few episodes are garbage, but if you want to ignore the ages, it's great to look at because hey, these are just adult women of great buys and great boobs, and no one's a teenager at all, unless someone explicitly tells me. So that part's great. But and the animation's better, the action's better. We actually get to see we actually get a villain who stays a villain the entire time, and we don't get this random tack on villain at the end to just add stakes and drama. No, these guys are the stakes and drama the entire time, and we
They
don't need
still,
somebody
and
else.
this is the other, like, they still try to humanize last episode by telling their backstory. Because
Yeah.
to me, the best thing about Tanjiro is his empathy. And you even kind of butchered that in the last episode.
I disagree.
I,
I feel like it was best that they saved everything for the last episode, and they did it. And what they did, what I saw was good. I'm just glad they saved it for the last episode because it felt bad before they killed him, which would have been a big no-no. I wanted them to die before, but I felt the ending was enough to redeem them. But yeah, they still got what they deserved.
Joel, I'll have you hold on to that thought that they butchered Tanjiro's empathy, because I kind of disagree with you, but I want to hear your argument, so save that, because we still have Gyotaro to talk about. So, Tengen decapitates Daki for the first time, and that is when Gyotaro shows up.
Late, by the way.
She's mad about the guys bullying her, and it turns out that she is actually she's like a figment that was made manifest when Gyotaro was turned into a demon, and he just kind of keeps her around, because they make mention that he could be more powerful if he just decided to be a single unit, but he is not. He is two people. But
he created a weakness for himself.
But yeah, he is the big brother. I admit, Joey, he is very much designed off the Joker. It seems very wide smile, stuff like, and same color scheme. But in terms of personality, he is like protective brother to an absolute fault. Like, he talks shit about his sister, but it's not. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like in like bad faith. I guess that. It seems
not
like
the same as in one where you get the one brother that basically created his family.
Yeah, this one is like we've been in this together.
Yeah,
and so unlike the Mugen Train villains, this is another one where it's like, okay, so the villain is a mirror to Tanjiro, because with Rui we had the mirror to Tanjiro with like, oh, I just care about family, and it's a perversion of that, and this is a perversion of the like brother and sister relationship, in that they have been raised by wolves. Essentially, they have been raised in this like ultra capitalist lifestyle, and they were poor. They were worth nothing. Their lives were literally worth nothing. The girl was burned in the street, and they learned violence, stuck with violence, and then were turned into demons and said like, nope, I just like being a demon. So
yeah, works out. I also like that Gyotaro kind of works as like a special attack the same way that Nezuko does too, like pops out of the back and everything. Like, break glass in case of emergency, here's your sibling that pops out to save your ass. So we get to see Nezuko in full badass demon mode, and then we get to see Gyotaro pop out and kind of do the same thing. I thought that was neat. Mentioning that.
But I call it like they were born into ultra capitalism. I think they were just born into, I mean, essentially a whorehouse. They were like, the dad's not there. Like, he's gone. Like, because he's a customer of the mom, and then the mom hates him because the mom can't make her living with them there, because like they were saying, they're extra mouths to feed.
They specifically give a warning that in this world, your beauty is your value. Like, they make sure, at least in the dub,
because they grew up in a red light district.
Value.
They only grew up in a world where they only know they can sell themselves. But they don't know. They're not growing up with a school nearby. No, I mean, they learn on the street, essentially.
Learn in the streets.
These kids belong to the streets.
But Joey, what's your opinion of at least the overall like villain combination of Daki and Gyotaro? Because I do not see how you can consider the villains in Mugen Train better than these two. And I mean, even Rui to an extent, I give to be a close second to Gyotaro after a second watch.
Rui's the season 1, right?
Yeah, he's the spider kid.
The spider kid that creates his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gyutaro's way better.
I mean, one, Gyutaro feels kind of like a rehash of season 1 because we've seen the try to be protective over family in the first place. Plus, they're demons. What the idea that I've gotten from demons is that they're very, I mean, like anything, they're very selfish. Like because they represent the worst of us. So to try to be protective, like having Daki always crying seems weird to me for a demon. Like
It was whiny.
like I don't demons being overly emotional, they should just want to eat and kill you. Like that's the way I envision that. Or
But then
only
they wouldn't have
creating something like
personality.
Rui works because yes, he wants to create a family, but he wants to do it for himself. He wants to create that illusion for himself.
Okay.
And then season 2 with Mugen Train is just the person that basically just uses the dream state as a ploy to eat people. That's fine. That kind of seems like that it adds an element of danger there. So I'm willing to go. And then you have Akaza. I want to say the name. Yeah. That just shows up. That's the badass that keeps fighting and just is relentless and doesn't stop. Like that's
Random.
still the best fight to me of all of the scenes in Demon Slayers between him and Rengoku, and where he keeps telling Rengoku is like you're beating yourself down and you can't heal. By the way, watch this. Pop. I'm fine again. Let's keep going. I can do this all day. You can't. And I liked the dialogue. And again, it shows that the heightened sense of danger that he brings. Never got that from these two. Outside of that, Gyutaro could poison you with his
Which is
little...
kind of wild, because then they pull up the same trick where they kept hurting them and then popping back up. The one kept being beheaded and being popping back up over and over again.
Because I not like that's why Mugen Train, at least I put myself into the train of like, fine, it's dumb, but we did see the season before where they cut the head off, but it's held together by the web, by the threads. So we had to keep cutting the threads. This one, it was just like they keep cutting her head off, and they say it at least the first time, like maybe it's held together by coagulate. No, it's Nezuko gets her head cut off. Is like, oh, but her blood's held together by her coagulated blood, and so it was like, fine, whatever. I'll give you a pass this one time. But then Daki keeps getting her head cut off, and it just feels like it means less and less every single time.
Well, in the lore of the show, it's not specifically getting your head cut off because the demons will punch each other's heads off. You will see that in the very next episode. But it's like only if you get your head cut off by a demon slayer sword, that their swords infused with sunlight.
But she did get her head cut off by a demon slayer sword 3 times. Inosuke does it. Tanjiro does it.
No, but since Daki and Gyotaro are one unit, you need to cut off their heads simultaneously. That's the entire conceit of the fight.
Yeah.
That's what
if one is still alive, they both keep going. That's why they were so cool. That's why they were so cool. That's why they were so tough to beat. That was part of it for me. Have you played the Mortal Kombat games that have like Noob Saibot and Smoke be the same character? It's that same deal. That's a reason Smoke, you pick Smoke and then Noob Saibot jumps out of him, and Noob Saibot is the attack. He's just this big black goo person, and that's a kind of Gyotaro reminded me of here. So I don't know. It's the same.
Yeah, and I do not get a sense of menace from Akaza. He shows up, he kills Rengoku, but in the end, he, especially because the show, I think, ruins Akaza by having him go to Muzan and just getting kind of bitched out and submitting to him. I don't like it. I think that kind of undermines him, especially if he's Moon level 3 or whatever the fuck.
I agree with you. I mean, to me, Akaza, the way you built him up in Mugen Train should have been the main villain in this season, but
But
They still got
meanwhile,
doing the Starscream lackey thing.
like Gyotaro is talking shit. He is taunting. He has a sense of menace to him.
So does Akaza. Akaza
Cool
does the
attack.
same thing. So does Rui for that. I mean, they all talk. They
They all
all
talk shit, but Guitar
basically
does it
talk shit
better.
about Demon Slayers.
Yeah, but Gyotaro
Doesn't
does
he?
it better because he's like slapping Tanjiro around.
He
He's
sounds like annoying. Like
letting him
he
up.
sounds like.
He's breaking his hand like he's Pete Dunne. It's great. Or Butch.
To me, it sounds more annoying. Like he sounds like an annoying kid in high school that started a punk rock band. It's
Yeah.
like look at all these conformists. Like that's kind of what he strikes me as.
And you don't like that? Because he read the Raven back in the Ravens flock days. He's just Raven. What about me? What about Raven? That's Guitar.
But I wouldn't call it. Wouldn't be the Raven one. He'd be like the Stevie Richards lackey. Because if anything, Raven would be used on Kubutsuji. So the Stevie Richards, like, is he really like this or is he not this? Would feel more like Guitaro. And then
I feel like he's very Raven. I feel like he's very smelly, tough guy. Like you don't expect him to be tough. You don't expect him to be that strong because he's just a smelly bum. And he's ugly, and yet he's better than you. You don't expect the ugly person to be better than you at anything, and they are. I like that about him. He's the ultimate underdog, and you don't see underdogs as bad guys very often.
So Joey, how do you rate the anime hype moment with the end of the fight? With Tanjiro going like full fire mode, getting stabbed in the mouth.
Yes.
Oh no, I know
That was
rough.
rough.
And I need to overcome the poison. I've
the
been
poison is what's
impaled.
worried about at that point.
I've been impaled, but I got to find a way to slow my breathing to overcome the poison.
That was the other thing about this. The damage they friggin' took was intense compared to the other season. Like Tanjiro took a lot of friggin' damage. Like he was going blind in his eyes at one point for some reason. Like it was just better. This fight was just better. The stakes were better. They're stronger. I don't see the comparison.
I like Tengen being beaten to a bloody pulp. Like that part I do like, where it's like, finally look, we've overcome Daki. Oh, by the way, Gyotaro just did in Tengen. There he is on the floor. Is he dead? He might be dead. Of course he's not.
His hand is off.
Kind of ruined him a little bit.
He just T1000s him. Just comes right back.
Like I do like at least how he's like shown before, like he's telling him to run after they finally defeat Gyotaro, because he's like just bloody. Like half his face is red. His hand is chopped off. Like everything is just very slow moving because they're out of energy. Like that part I like a little bit. I don't like the Predator ending for Gyotaro, but
that's the Predator ending. Predator had a good ending, so I like that Predator ending.
Self-destruct.
That's like specifically there just so Tanjiro can find the demons' heads alone, and therefore they can have their last poor villain moment. Because any other demon slayer shows up and they just like, oh, yep, I'm going to kick these or like give them a final stab. But Tanjiro listens to them yelling at each other and it's like, no, don't fight. You guys have no one else.
But Mr. Rogers about this. Like, you don't fight because you'll never be forgiven for all the wrongs that you did. It's like, to me, like the empathy lands harder when you realize they're still victims of the entire thing, the way they're being shown. Yes, like they've committed atrocity because they are demons. That is what they are. But when you're telling the story like you are, to me, you need to be more empathetic than just saying like, you can't like, no matter what, this is your fate. I think their fate was already known. They were already demons. So you don't need to bash it over the fact that your head that they've committed atrocity. We already know that. We watched 7 episodes of it. So like this to me, where it would have been best for Tanjiro to just be like, wow, like you had a tough upbringing. I'm sorry that you had to go through this, but at least now you have the chance to move on and you can't commit any more atrocity and you'll have each other. Like that's to me all you need to do. Because otherwise him bashing it over the head, the fact that like, nope, you're still evil, it ruins part of what is empathy.
But that's what made them so great, though. It proves that, and this Nesco helps with this too. It proves that it's not that being a demon makes you evil. It makes you bloodthirsty. Yeah, you feast on blood and all that, but as a person, that has nothing to do with your decisions. These two were assholes the moment they got power. It had nothing to do with them being demons. And it showed that even at the end, even them burning in hell, they just wanted to do more evil. Guitar wanted to come back and
they
be
were
the
vindictive.
same. I mean, they were the victims, but I can't
They
blame
wanted
them for being so
revenge.
angry. But they were still angry, awful people.
They
with power.
wanted revenge on what was done to them by the outside world. They didn't have the wrong done to them by demons. Nezuko doesn't have wrong done to her by the outside world. The wrong that is done to her is the demon.
Yeah, but we've met other good demons as well, though.
Have we?
Yeah, the one lady. The reason why he takes the blood and gives it to the cat.
What was that?
Remember the demon doctor lady who's hiding from Muzan?
Was
Don't
that
worry,
season
the
one
show
when they're in the
forgot
stupid
about her
house?
too.
Yeah.
Is that the house with the snake? Is that season 1, the house with the snake?
It's season 1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason we've been watching Tanjiro collect blood and give it to a cat, and now we just kind of forgot why. It just keeps happening now. Like, all right, I guess we're doing this.
It's so bad that
Great
that when he defeats the next 2 upper rank demons, he doesn't collect blood, and it's like, oh yeah, the show just kind of forgot about this plot line.
Are we doing this again? But I do dig that it's not the being a demon makes them evil. It is their intentions. They want to hurt these people. They want to get back at them. They want to use this power to run this district and be in power and put these people beneath their heel.
They still with that scene with Nezuko chasing down the one lady who's bleeding, are willing to like go after the lady who's bleeding until she's held back by her brother. It shows that this is still their nature.
I feel like it's their nature to drink blood. I don't think it's their nature to be evil. I feel like some of them are just assholes because they had these awful things done to them.
She'd be eating an innocent person, which inherently makes it evil.
Yeah, but she's also starving. The other ones are eating on a regular basis and having regular conversations like normal people. Nezuko is just a bloodthirsty animal because no one's feeding her for like days, for weeks on end. She has no food, so she's angry this entire time.
But if she went after that lady and she ate that lady on the show, wouldn't the audience turn on Nezuko?
I think so, but also that depends. I feel like she would feel remorseful afterwards. I feel like for the first time we would actually hear her voice, and she'd feel bad about it. I don't think she'd be like, "Hey, more blood," and just like kind of go on a rampage. That'd be hilarious. I'd hope that would happen.
But then she's just killed an innocent, which goes against the show. And then you would sit there and be like, "Why doesn't Tanjiro kill her?" Like that's the oath he swore, and it just puts up so many problems.
Yeah,
well, it worked for Angel and Buffy, didn't it? I feel like it's the same issue with Angel or Spike. Yeah, it was like, oh my god,
where he cuts his arm and like shows like, hey, it's still their nature, and she still gets bloodthirsty, and she still the vampire still is trying to turn down the blood. But
I think it's very much like
which
that.
the show also did already.
Did this show do that already?
Yeah, when they were with the Hashira and the one wind Hashira stabs through the box.
He's like, that's right, and like
see,
because he's beating the hell out of her, and then wants to show up. That's right.
This Japanese hospitality.
Sadly, those episodes are memorable for how just awful.
But yeah, I
like the people that they work for.
I personally do not think that the last poor villain thing like ruins Tanjiro's empathy. I think it's perfectly fine. So even when I saw this as a movie, because the way that this was done as a movie is literally just like the last 2 episodes combined with the first episode of the next season. That's it. Like, you just start and the entire entertainment district is on fire. It's like, what happens? I had not seen any of the preamble.
They'll understand. They'll get it.
But the even that moment where Tanjiro's just like, hey, no one's going to forgive you, all you have is each other, seems to be at least purposeful, where it is that these two got power and they used it to massacre people. and that needs to be answered for, and that is how this show is viewing justice.
I think you don't need to, like, that's something you don't need to say dialogue wise, because you already know what they've done.
Well, we learned with Suzume that anime just doesn't know when to shut the hell up, so
Yeah. We have to explain the moral to them, or else they'd be like Fight Club. They'll get the wrong idea. It'll be a whole thing.
Because then what? Like, it makes it troublesome that you created empathy for them in the first place, because what you're doing is you justify why they are allowed to be vengeful.
No, because
you're like, wow, they were dealt an incredibly bad hand. I can understand why they would be so vengeful.
I can hold two thoughts in my head at the same time. I can say that the circumstances of your upbringing were bad. I can see them like under the hay bale freezing. That hey, nothing can touch us as long as we have each other. And it's like, oh, that's a sweet moment, but at the same time, see the danger of it being like, fuck the rest of the world because we have our little spot here. I think you can keep those two items in your head, and that's what this show is at least trying to do with this particular villain set.
Yeah, an explanation is not an excuse, and that's really all it is. It's like, here's the sad reason they did what they did. Here, look at Batman's Rogues Gallery. Like, any given one had a sad origin, and then they become assholes.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, Gyotaro in his thing, like, when I saw this originally, I hated it. And that was the movie version, because the only thing that you get from it is him going, oh, Daki/Ume, because her name is actually Ume, and that's a thing apparently.
At the end, yep, because he realizes what her actual name is.
That he goes like, oh well, if only I hadn't been around, you could have been a good geisha and maybe been married off to someone. And the show intentionally designs her husband to look like her potential rapist that she stabbed in the eye. I don't think the show is being particularly subtle there, and I think Gyotaru's like thing at the very end is like, no, just having this thought was wrong, and we need to go back to we just need to be together. It's a thing where it's like we were in bad circumstances. If I'm choosing to be a demon, I'm being a demon every time. But they are still answering for the actions that they took.
Yeah.
Like that line of dialogue almost ruined the entire empathy thing for me in the beginning in the first place. Because you're like, oh, then she stabbed this samurai in the eye, and so he answered by burning her alive. And it was just like, again, like it created a whole issue for me with this whole arc, because again, that whole story creates more empathy for them in general. So again, like, why wouldn't they be justified wanting to burn this entire town to the ground? Unfortunately, they don't. They become part of the problem by basically creating wealth based off of this world that what's the word? Basically mistreated them. But and then the whole well, maybe if you just would have done what he asked, like maybe you could have married that samurai, or you could have been led and been born into a noble family. If only I would have raised you better to basically be raped. And that was
I think the show is intentionally making sure that the turn that he's making while telling his own story is realizing that line of thinking is wrong. And that's why turning back to Daki and like piggybacking her is like the like big like triumphant moment as they just march on into hell.
They march into hell. I hope that your version or your vision of what this was supposed to be is right, because I didn't get that impression. I just heard that, and granted, maybe because I heard that and I just checked out. I was just like,
no, not I did this. I will admit I did the same thing when I saw the movie version, Because the movie version, like I said, it's without context. You get into it, and the entire entertainment district's on fire. You see a fight, and then you get that moment, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I don't know what this is. And with context, it does help. And this is, I would say that this arc is better after multiple watchings, especially if you just skip the first 4 episodes. They're just not needed. Like, just watch the fight. Just accept the fact that you're skipping the rest of the bad stuff in the AEW pay-per-view, and you're just watching the 2 good matches that it's based around.
Pretty much get like 7 or 8 solid episodes of fighting if you skip like the first few, and it becomes a really, really good season. At least in my book, especially compared to the other 2. I mean, just based on how much action you get in this alone by volume, it's a better season.
The one thing I will say too, they didn't. While Zenitsu turned into like the sleeping badass with the snot bubble and like throughout parts of like the season, the ending I was worried. I'm like, oh god, now they're gonna show him coming up on what is now basically sexy Nezuko, and at least they didn't do that. So
Yeah.
I will give the show
for the whole thing.
They didn't play
That's
through
good.
that.
That's good writing.
Thank God. At least I didn't have to see that. The
knew
dream
what they were doing.
Mugen Train was bad enough. Watching him frolic like, my love interest is a girl that can't talk. This is perfect for me. It's like, oh great.
Tanjiro, why can't I move my legs is a weird line.
That is true. Where he wakes up and he's just like, just crying.
Yep, like what happened?
His whole body hurts.
What did we do?
So yeah, that is effectively the Entertainment District arc. And like I said, I came around on this. I think I've put it above Mugen Train at this point. I do like... we didn't go into the intro. I do like the intro more than Mugen Train's intro. It's not as good as the original intro.
Like the intro song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The intro to a sitcom. It's great. It's a wacky sitcom.
One's the best, but this one was definitely better than Mugen Train.
But yeah, so Joey, in the ranking of arcs so far, and I guess we can put season 1 as a whole, because that's kind of how it is in Netflix. But otherwise, I would like separate it out. Like, if you're taking season 1 as a whole, all 26 episodes, where would you rank that versus Mugen Train and versus this Entertainment District arc?
I'll make you two mad. If you rank season 1 as a whole, to me, like the top goes Mugen Train number 1, season 1 number 2, and this number 3. But if you split the season 1 down the middle from the training arc to the ending Hashira arc, I would put first half of season 1 number 1, Mugen Train number 2, this number 3, and part 2 of season 1 and on the bottom.
Really? The Spider Family gets the bottom?
The Spider Family feels like the middle, so I guess, golly, you could probably even separate season 3 or season 1 into 3. It's because those Hashira episodes are so bad. Like it's because it effectively ruins the side that they're on, because the side that they're on are just like bad, corrupt individuals that are almost just as bad as the ones they're fighting.
And it kind of drags the momentum down to boot. Mm-hmm. I feel like they ended on a really strong note, and then here comes an introduction, which should have been its own season.
Yeah.
And even then, what you said about the Hashira, who we're supposed to get attached to after this, after this hell of an intro, like these are awful people, and now we get to feel bad for them afterwards, which is, I guess, par for the course of the show. Now that I look at it.
So yeah, like I kind of like what you said though, Tony. Like in you too, Marlon, because I mean, like you saying about the Hashira, but like maybe season 1 we should basically, if we're ranking them, split them into 3 parts. So again, it would go season 1, the training arc is still my favorite. That would be number 1. That's what really kind of like got me interested in the show. Spider Family I'd put as number 2. That's still largely at least the second best fight with the best story around it. Mugen Train 3, because again, I like the Akaza Rengoku fight. Then Entertainment District after that, and then the last is the ending part of season 1 with the stupid snake house with apparently demon lady I completely forgot about, and Hashira episodes.
Yeah, it still gets hard for me. Like, a Spider Family was number 1 until this dude showed up with his sister. Like, that's... Nope, it's still number 1. That was just pure insanity. At one point, they just stopped talking and were just yelling at each other. That was incredible.
Yeah, I do view season 1 as a whole. I do put it by having that the initial training and the final exam arc alongside the Spider Family. I think the highs of season 1 outpace its lows. So I can't put season 1 below the Entertainment District arc, especially when this has things that annoy me so much. I do not like Tengen's wives. Like I said, they were
I like them okay.
They were supposed to be you had an opportunity to make them individual characters, all with personality, and instead they made them caricatures and more comic relief in a show that does not need comic relief.
And you just made them, and you didn't add that.
Okay,
There's no independence to them. There's no heroic aspect to any of them. They're just women that are subservient to a man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly surprised they got voice actresses.
So I mean, because the strongest female character you have, well, I guess Nezuko. Nezuko's your strongest female character in the whole series, but you can't tell. So it's just
She's a special effect. Go, Nisco, go! It's her. She's a dog.
Yeah, and Marlon, you are
Pikachu.
You are 2-1, or you are Entertainment District, then season 1, and then Mugen Train.
Yeah, easily. Mugen Train is a far bottom, and that's because of the ending. Like, even if it just subtracted a bit with the dude that kills Rengoku, it would have at least been like a more cohesive movie. Instead, it's a movie and half of another movie, which is like a weird pattern they keep doing. Like, why do you organize things like this?
And I agree, because again, it comes to the problem with like the Mugen Train. We talked about it the last time we talked about Mugen Train, was like the ending fight. It would have worked so much better if Rengoku can just hold him there and they essentially kill each other. But having the villain get away and then do absolutely fuck all this season, like it makes it almost worthless.
Season 3 is the only one that's felt like a complete story. Like, that's it. It's over. It's done. No epilogue. All right, great. And you just go home on a high note. That's it. You don't need some extra thing. Like, I guess we're still watching this.
I would, because that's why I do like. Now thinking of it, that's why I like the Spider Family arc, because it made it seem like, okay, you're hunting these upper echelon demons, and then you fight like the Rui kid, and you realize like he was the upper, but like he was, compared to the rest of them, he's weak. Like he's not the high end. So it just like it brought that sense of, like Tony said, that sense of menace. And the other thing that's now bothering me, because I'm thinking back to it, before Tanjiro was training and he was getting ready to fight the blob monster, he had basically the two that were killed by the blob monster help him, essentially being helped by ghosts. Like he can talk to the dead.
Yeah.
They've never used that again.
Nope.
You're fighting demons. Can't he fight like side with ghosts again? That would make it interesting all over.
It would. That's why they don't do it.
Yeah.
It's the best comparison I have for season 1. It's like, say you're watching Fellowship of the Ring, and the majority of the movie happens, and then at the end you're introduced to the Fellowship of the Ring. Like that 30 minutes, like, by the way, here's these guys, and you get to know them. Like, this is unnecessary.
Yeah,
that's somewhere else.
In the old VHS days, the movie just ends at that first tape. It just ends once they leave. Leave whatever the elf town, whatever it's called. Rivendell.
Rivendell, yeah.
He's like, don't worry, I'll get the whole like hour and a half of them hanging out in the Shire, like shooting fireworks and drinking and smoking. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what season 1 is. The first half of Fellowship of the Ring. That's all season 1 is.
I wouldn't quite go that far. Like,
Yeah.
I think of that sort of thing, and I think of like, oh, what if you watched the Phantom Menace and just like ended at the pod race and said that the rest of it was in the second movie?
Yeah, that's an even better comparison. And on the pod race.
Anakin won the pod race. Credits. Greatest movie of all time.
The Entertainment District is absolutely episode 3 in this context here.
I still hate that we call it Entertainment District. Just call it Red Light District.
Well, I will tell you that you will have no
about
problem with the naming of the next arc, because it is the Swordsmith Village arc, and they do go to a village of swordsmiths.
Okay.
But
So there's blacksmiths making swords.
Yes.
That works for me.
Now, do you think that one like goofy mask and the one guy who constantly wants to kill Tanjiro for ruining his sword is funny? Because you'll get a lot of him, and you'll get a lot of those masks.
Okay.
I think I may actually legit hate this.
So more douchey Hashira to win over.
And there are
Someone's an Itsu fan.
And there are 2 Hashira in this. There is the Love Hashira and the
Hate Hashira.
Wait, so love, like the love interest one? She's a Hashira? His love interest one?
No, she practices love breathing. That is a thing. That is a thing in this.
Oh God, it's not the one that was like sitting there like in the end episodes like Hashira is so cute.
Yes, it's the one with the pink hair. She is the Hashira for the next arc. And it's another guy. I forget what his breathing technique is.
Or caricature.
And
you said.
And then there's also like a half demon blood guy who uses a fucking shotgun, and he's awesome.
That does sound amazing. That I will watch. And didn't you say you did say this arc is, I mean, for lack of a better word, this arc is just as horny as this past season we've watched?
Arc, the next arc is just as horny as this one, but it's specifically about pretty much a single character, because the one Hashira who does the love breathing, she has like the boob window in her gear, and the show, like, pretty much the very first shot you have of her is like standing up in a hot spring naked. So you have that to look forward to, just right from the very beginning.
This appeals to one of us.
And then they'll be like, by the way, she's 16.
I don't know how old she is, to be honest. I think she's 19 in the thing.
No, of course.
Joey's waiting for it.
And she's been a Hashira for like 10 years.
It's like, how legal is this?
She's perfected the art of love breathing for however many years.
But yeah, maybe I will ruin this by low expectations. Maybe you both will love this, but I think the Hashira suck in this one. I think the overall story sucks because you get rid of Zenitsu and Inosuke. It's all Tanjiro. It's all white bread, baby. Like,
hey,
all lettuce in this sandwich. No mayonnaise. Dry.
All mayonnaise. What are you talking about? Just a bag full of mayonnaise.
Some eggs, something, tuna.
And you get 2 upper rank demons in this, and they both are terrible.
Great.
Sometimes the side guys will surprise you when they branch out on their own. And they become... Brody Lee made a pretty good career leaving the Wyatt family. You never thought he would be anything more than just the henchman, and then he went to AEW and made a pretty good career and good name for himself, and became that much more interesting of a character. I hope for that for Tanjiro in this season.
A better example, Edge, because Edge is still alive.
If you see hope for this, I pray for you, because I do not think there are a lot of redeeming qualities of the next arc. I think that it feels like filler for something where it's just lore dumping is really what it does. The most interesting episode is the first episode and the last episode. The first episode because it gives you a nice little lore dump about the demons, and the last episode because you think the show is going to do something interesting and it doesn't.
Are the demons they fight even upper rank, or are
Yes.
they just not even? Okay.
So the upper rank demons this time are I don't think you've even seen them, but because they introduce the upper rank demons at the very beginning, like they show them all and they introduce them all. But you have upper rank 5 and upper rank 4. One of them is a cowardly guy who can split himself off into 5 different entities, and the other is kind of a dude in a jar who shapeshifts.
Wait. So this one, because what was Gyotaro then?
Upper rank 6.
So him and Daki counted as the same.
Yes.
Okay. So he was not. So Daki was still basically they were just one demon.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dream Guy was lower 1. So he was the top of the lowers because all the rest of them were killed.
Dream. Yeah, that's right. I gotcha.
But
and then what is Akaza?
Akaza is upper 3.
Who's 3? Who's 2?
The guy who turns Gyotaro.
Wow.
Because when he's doing his little backstory thing, he's upper 6 in that one. But in the first episode of the Swordsmith Village arc, you'll see that he is now upper 2. And then upper 1 is like its own little lore dump thing of like, oh, they're doing this.
There's an upper 1, so it's not just. Wouldn't Muzan Kubutsuji be number 1?
There are 12 demons that are effectively like Muzan Kabutsuji's Kingsguard. There are the lower 6 who are all dead now, and then there's the upper 6. Gyotaro was upper 6. The next 2 are going to be upper 5 and upper 4 in this next arc. I forget their names because they're very forgettable. Akaza is 3. The guy who turns Akaza is now 2. And the this other one, which is a spoiler, and I won't get it even though it's pretty obvious when you end up seeing it, is upper 1. And then you have Muzan at the top. Lore!
We got a lot more Demon Slayer to go.
Yay.
So this show will be on until at least 2026.
Yep, so
Yeah,
we
kids are
will...
gonna love it.
And after February, we're done until at least the next season finishes, and we'll do a good anime with Samurai, and we'll do Samurai Champloo. But for at least next time, we have Swordsmith Village and 11 more episodes of this death march.
Polish your blades.
I will say it's relatively easy to watch. I will say.
Yeah, it's
I
very
hated
pretty.
a lot of it, but it's easy to watch.
Yeah. So Joey, did Demon Slayer gain any ground? I think you had it standing at a 2 after Mugen Train.
I had a 3, 3.5. But no, this lost ground. This puts it at least at a 2. This was. I can't imagine this would get higher than a 2. Like that, the over sexualization of what I assume are young girls ruins a lot of it. I mean, granted, I'm a guy with a 6-year-old daughter, but still, like it's just that ruins a lot of it. I didn't find as much interest in the villains in comparison to seasons before, and he put Zenitsu on the screen for me, along with that animation style, and I'm already going to dock your points.
So for Halloween, you're not going to put on like a checkered kimono and put B in a box and just carry her around for Halloween?
Ew. Gross. No. Gross.
Well, my opinion is the opposite of Joey's. Just everything he said, just the exact opposite is how I feel about this season.
Yeah, so what's your standing score on the anime, Marlon?
Doing the 7 thing, I want to say 5. This season is finding why I understand the appeal now of this season. The other two was just some dumb kid thing. Like I don't get it. Why I don't get the hype. I don't get all the hot topic Spencer's gift stuff. But this season, okay, I get it now. I'm on the
you are
train.
at good for the genre.
Yeah, good for the genre. Number 5.
Yeah, I'm the show gets a standing 3. Like after the next season, it will get a standing 3 for me. I can't
Oh,
like
I'm
take it
gonna
away.
find out.
I can't compartmentalize very well, so that is
What if you're okay? So like going to fantasy bookers, and this is really a question for both of you. How do you improve the show, Marlon? I mean,
Fantasy booking.
I don't think you've watched Swordsmith Village. Tony, you have.
mhm.
So like Marlon, like ideally, what would your ideal storyline for this show moving after this season? And Tony, what would be your ideal storyline for moving after Swordsmith Village? If we're again, because again, this is a show based on matchups and fights. So again, fantasy booking. Like
I
what would? Yeah,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like they could tone down on the comedy a bit. Like I feel like we all agree on that. Like the comedy is fine in small doses. My issue is that they overdo it to the point where I'm just looking at my phone because it's just a barrage of what they think is funny. Just like a 4-year-old just yelling shit at me. So if they like kept that on smaller doses, maybe have some more serious moments for Inosuke and Zenitsu, I'd understand why they're here. Otherwise, they're just kind of like Bulk and Skull hanging out of this guy. They don't really. I don't get their purpose. They're just there to make cracks and be funny, and we think they're gonna die and they don't. But it's just what's the substance to them? I'd improve the show by adding more substance to the side characters, or even Tanjiro for that matter. Because right now they're just kind of vehicles for the villains. The main appeal of the show for me is 90% the villains and the Hashira. Their designs are really cool, and then we have to go back to these 3 because I guess we have to, because so we started with. But I couldn't give a shit about them. I care about the Hashira and the villains now.
Yeah, and I can't really make a suggestion going into the next arc because supposedly the next arc is actually one of the better ones. Because we're getting closer to the Infinity Castle arc, which is the final.
Oh, okay.
The next arc is deemed the Hashira training arc, so we're going to get more training, and everyone's going to get Hashira powers. Is basically what it's going to be after
Ah,
Swordsmith Village. In terms of how I would fix this show, like I would tighten up a lot of stuff. I honestly would have dropped the whole concept of upper 6, lower 6, because
yeah. What's that about?
if you didn't give us a whole 4 of them, then don't give us them at all. Like they give us an upper 1 and then they give us another upper 1. Um,
Yeah.
so so it's kind of pointless there. Like just say that they're like the 8 Kizuki instead of the 12 Kizuki, but they probably wanted to mirror it between 12 Hashira and 12 demon dudes. Um,
Yeah.
but also I would really want to show Muzan actually doing more stuff rather than just like standing around and doing science. Like actually like have him doing things other than just saying like do better demon underlings.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
No, I agree. We talked about this in Mugen
Gives
Train.
Lord
Like,
Zed.
it felt like a lost opportunity introducing Akaza instead of like have Muzan Kabutsuji be the one to fight Rengoku, because it just like it would feel more like an Empire Strikes Back moment. Like you've worked so hard, you've like thrown like your best warrior at this guy, and it still wasn't enough. Like that would have felt a lot more hard hitting rather than this demon we just met randomly just now.
yeah.
So I would agree with you. And yes, doing away with the upper 6 where like just be supernatural. Supernatural still like goes and fights the biggest baddies they can think of each season. Like it's uh, they have to fight the demon that turned them. That ends after season 2, and then by the way, after that they're facing the devil, and then it just escalates from there. It's like where to go from the devil? Oh well, let's fight God, and then let's
Yep.
fight, and then just making
There's
up
just
our
red
own
ass.
after that. Like they don't have to like, oh, we got to work to this henchman to get to this henchman. Nope, let's just move up to the biggest baddie we can find.
Yeah, and I try my best to not be a curmudgeon about this show, because there is a certain aspect of it where it's like, oh, this is just not like the shonen anime that I watched as a kid. So I try to try to meet the show with its strengths, but there are just certain things that the show does that just irk me. Like, Dragon Ball Z had bad comedy in it. This has bad comedy in it too. I can't really fault it for having bad comedy, but I can fault it just as much as I can for the bad Dragon Ball Z comedy that this has bad comedy.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z has relatively little by comparison. I think that's just because it had so many episodes of the fights, but this kind of feels like 40, sometimes 50% just shit comedy being thrown in my face. And sometimes in between like really good fights. Like you mentioned we were watching it once. It'll develop all this momentum and then boom, we got cut back to somebody else. Why? Because it's funny. Just just stay with the fight.
Yeah, it needs to be confident in its momentum. Like, it's very confident in the momentum in the Spider Family set of fights. Like, it moves. That is why that is easily the best string of 4 to 5 episodes that this show has so far. But the problem is that the show constantly gets in its own way, and that's kind of just what it does. And you'll definitely see it with this arc. If this,
it's not like I'm watching any better. Lately, I'm almost finished through the whole season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney, and it got me hooked. I'm interested.
Is it good?
It's not perfect by any stretch, but I'm hooked. I'm on the episode where Edge comes in, or Adam Copeland.
I have to check it out just for him. I'm gonna be in a slump because Fargo's almost over. Luckily, True Detective just started, but I don't know what's gonna happen after that.
Is the new season of Fargo good?
It's very, very good. It's one of the better ones. I don't know where to rank it. I'd say like third. Season
probably
4 is still
season 1. Season 1 is still probably the best one, but that's
and 4 is still the worst, gratefully.
The 4 is the Ewan McGregor one, right?
No, 3 was Ewan McGregor. 4 is the Chris Rock one. But that was it's good, but by Fargo standards, it's the worst.
Yeah, the even ones are the bad ones. The worst ones.
Yeah, if it involves like another time period in some kind of way, those are the worst ones.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that take place relatively close to the present are really good. And now this True Detective has just started to like fill that gap for me. So I get nothing but prestige TV.
Yep.
So my standards are at an all-time high.
Yep. So stay with us next time. We'll be back probably in early February, is my guess, to do Swordsmith Village, and then we're done with Demon Slayer because the new season is like in March. So we don't need to worry about Demon Slayer until at least that arc finishes.
I could talk to my siblings about it. Hey, how's that new Demon Slayer, huh? How's that Tanjiro? He's the worst, am I right? Zenitsu, it's my boy.
Go to the toy section and start buying. I saw there's a lot of Zenitsu action figures. Nobody wants that one.
I'll buy all the Zenitsus.
It's like the what is it in Jingle All the Way? There's like, we have instead of getting Turbo Man, you can get his little sidekick, the little purple
Booster.
Booster.
I don't want Booster. Booster's underrated.